Backyard Central.
Good morning. All right, so what do we have for you today? We're working on avocados. We have some gem here. Had a sell for BOGO. Gem avocados are actually really good for pots. They stay smaller. They can handle the heat a lot better than other avocados. So my Vegas 9B weather, they should be perfect for here. We're gonna get these planted. I got some things going on. I'm just checking everything out. When you get something shipped, you always want to check for dead or disturbed or distracted. But these look pretty good though so far. I mean, it's funny because I never thought about shipping plants. I'm like, how do people get plants? If you didn't know, you get them shipped. This thing looks really good though. I think I'm gonna be happy with these babies. It's always nice to have some helpers, isn't it? Kia! Let's get these open and checked out. These are actually from Fast Growing Trees. I've got a lot of things from them. Let's check them out though. So I've got a lot of things shipped. Let's talk about what you want to look for when you get something shipped. First thing, you don't want them to be just in some sort of bag. I've had things shipped in bags and the soil everywhere. You want them in an actual pot. They wrap them up in these bags to hold the humidity in so that you don't have to worry about them getting watered, especially when it's hot outside. And then you want to look at the root system, and I'm seeing some good roots. With avocados specifically, if this was a different type of tree, I would take these out and I would spray down the roots, theoretically, if I saw a bunch of bark. Which I'm seeing some bark in here. I'm going to lift them out, and then theoretically, if there's no bark in there, take a look. This is Jim. For some dates and some information. I'm just looking at the overall health. But you don't want a lot of bark. Avocados specifically do not like the roots to be messed with, so you can't necessarily take these out and spray them down, but you can with other trees. They take to that pretty well. They don't get shocked as bad. Take a look at these. Some twigs. I mean, otherwise these are looking pretty good. I see some food in here. I'm digging to look at the roots a little bit. I'm trying to see if there's wood in the actual soil, and that'll determine how long I could leave these in here, because I need to make room for these trees. I don't have room. And if you can take a look here, you see that graft union is pretty darn good. It's basically taking a tree and connecting it to the roots of another tree. And that Frankenstein two-part tree, essentially. If you don't know what grafting is. And pretty much that means that it's not from seed, which means these top bits are older, and then it should fruit faster. If you grow something from a seed, you're looking at, potentially 8-10 years before you get any fruit. This guy should fruit fairly fast based on the size. Let's see how tall these are. If I'm like 6 foot, hypothetically, depending on your measurements. Yeah, looking pretty good. I think these were purchased as 3 to 4 feet. First thing you want to do is water. As soon as you get these things in, they've been without water for potentially a week or so. And what I always use, as you probably already know, is this secret sauce. And this is pond water. First thing I do is water them until I see water coming out, and then I'll let it sit, and then I'll come back. Pond water has fish fertilizer in it. It has oxygen. The pond naturally creates oxygen. Fish swim around, they eat, and they use the bathroom. Potentially die and things like that. It breaks down, creates bacteria and whatnot. The bacteria that eats all that stuff. Super beneficial stuff. Let them sit a couple minutes. I'm just gonna hit them with some more. And what this watering does is prevents a lot of the shock. It's kind of like coming home and getting all snuggly, Water is coming out the bottom in less than a minute, so at least these won't drown. Because these were greenhouse kept, I think I'm gonna put them over here. You generally want to give a week or so for acclimation. And over here it should be fairly shaded. I don't want the sun to beat them up, even though it's not super hot. Just for like a week or so. If it was summer, I'd probably extend that to 2 weeks. Look at this. Pretty sure it's avocado. Going from seed. Do I graft onto it, or do I just let it grow out and see what happens in 10 years? 98% sure it was avocado. Grow things from seed that are more suitable to the climate, but at the same time they take forever to fruit. You can look at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years to get anything off of it. But once you get it, you have something that's better for your area when it comes to areas like this. And it might not be true to the type that they came from. I don't know. Not new. That's the vibe right here. Got some grow pots. I'm pretty sure I'm putting this in upside down, but if I remember correctly, that's what the direction says, and I'm gonna have to have 1 in 1. I also have a Mexicola. This guy right here, grown in a 15-gallon. I don't know if you remember this little baby, one of the little babies, but we're gonna take one out. Theoretically, this will do fine in all weather if I get this on a sun rising area versus getting sunset, and it should be able to handle down to 20 degrees or so. So I should be able to have this on the western side where I get shaded after like 12 and also survive the winter. Should be no issue. And the thing is, I always have 2s of everything, so if this one were to die, I have the other one over here. But if it thrives, that's even better. Look at these poor dragon fruit. That thing has not changed in a year and a half. Some things just don't want to do. Sometimes it's better to get something that's a little bit later. And then soursop, I want to say, looking pretty good. I already have some new growth on this guy. And as you see, everything's in pots, including grow bags. Now I think I'm gonna put right here, nice shaded play area. This is the area moving that apple tree. I'm gonna put it right there in that grow pot. Should be nice. Sun's over there, rises in the east, sets in the west. So it's just gonna get all the morning sun. This is where I have temperamental things. This is where tropical should have been. And take a look at this guy. You don't see it until you see it. It took me a while. And the peppers are doing amazing. It loves the fall. I get the most peppers in the fall. Kumquats. Not looking amazing. There's quite a few on here. There's definitely a lot of peppers in the background though. This is gardening. It's something new all the time. I just love coming out here and seeing stuff. As it gets cold, the green will start changing to orange. Those are mandarin quats, actually. And if you didn't know, you can eat the flesh on these guys. Isn't that awesome? There's so many things, especially in Vegas anyway. Our stores don't have crap. Sometimes things don't last, and sometimes it's about where they can grow. But we're so deprived here. So I've done a lot of videos on this, but let's talk about the soil. It's at least one part, and that is peat moss to decomposed granite to perlite, and I'll add a couple handfuls of like broken down barbecue bark chunks. You just make sure it's natural. There's no need to go and buy it from the store. Just put it in here and I break it down, and that's about 3 cups in this barrel or so of that. Mix that in, and then based on what you want, so like you can do this all in decomposed granite or sand if you wanted to, but that's heavier. So if you wanted to, you can alter that with more perlite. So like 1 part peat moss, 1 part decomposed granite, and 2 parts perlite would be really nice as well. And it's something like this, what I'll also mix in is like a handful of lava rock or a handful of clay pebbles. Clay pebbles, like things like that. A lot of the bacteria is going to live in those areas, and it's very porous. And you don't want to have any barks and things in your soil. You want it to be fast draining, and you think about when it rains. Like you think about the worst case scenario and you build from there. If it rains, I don't want to have to run out here and change things up. I don't want to have to worry about root rot or anything of that nature. And having a soil base like that is what allows you to not have to worry about that. And then what you do is you put the feeding at the top, and it feeds downwards into the plant, into the pots. I think of how nature looks when in nature there's not bark and stuff underground, like the trees die and things fall and things eat all that, and then it breaks down and it falls through, feeds through. And there's just so much life in here. You need the life in here to break down a lot of this stuff. Like I have this on fake grass, so there's no way that things are climbing in here, right? I put all this in here and I let it grow. It'll start breaking. Like I'm just trying to make it seem like it's natural as much as possible, and I want to get as much of this out of here as possible. I don't want anything breaking down around my roots. And then I want to make sure all these worms and things are getting back into this soil when I'm putting it into the next spot. And then I probably kind of go around every once in a while, and then I'll seed things. And realistically, your soil level will not change when you make your soil this way. I used to buy stuff from big box stores and listen to what people told me, and then I'm like, you're having to replace everything. It's a little bit more expensive to do it this way, but then you never have to change it. It is that, and then it's that forever. It doesn't really break down. And then you just feed on the top. Leave the top like 4 inches or so for mulch and feed. And then you just consistently every year come and feed your plant. You don't have to worry about root rot. Root rot killed me. I started with avocado trees, and I killed so many in the beginning trying to listen to what everybody else says. Do your research. I'm not even saying listen to me. Do your research. Think about what makes sense. And engineering like this, it makes sense to do it this way. I mean, there's ways to do it the other way, but I want to do simple, not hard. All right, so let's get this guy into the pot. It's 15 gallon, and I pretty much made 25 gallon airbag. So I'm just going around this airbag. I put my fingers through the sides and make sure that the roots are not growing into the sides of the airbag. And you kind of want to let gravity pull it out. This is a little wet, unfortunately. The drip irrigation day. I think you want it to be. I'm pretty sure you want this to be as dry as possible. But that gravity is affecting this, so it is what it is. Yeah. Pretty sure I'm losing some roots here. Eek! But established trees, right? Come take a look. Alright, so I'm trying to have this above grade a little bit. As you can see, the flare right here, I'm having that above grade, a couple inches. And then I can put mulch around this. Have a couple inches to be able to feed. But this is what we're looking like. I do have some bark in here. I mean, some coconut bark that I'm experimenting with a little bit towards the top to maybe hold a little bit more moisture. But really, I don't need to mess with this much. All my plants, from apple trees to tropicals, everything has the same soil. But you just really want this to be aerated. I can't stress that enough. So let's feed. Use as much of this as you can get. This really is gold, like it says. And we're just gonna put the upper inch or so with this stuff. is worm castings. I always buy this when it goes on sale at Star Nursery. It has rock dust. There are arguments about some of the bacteria and things like that when it comes to things that have been in a bag. I get it, it makes sense, but this is still a lot better than anything else. My avocados are my babies, and they get babied. We want to re-add what we took out. And like I always say, it's kind of like a lasagna. Like, you want to do it in layers, right? You want to have layers on layers on layers, and have it all breaking down, and things feeding and eating and pooping and creating energy. And you kind of don't want to have the soil right on the bark, but you do want to have, I haven't had any issues with the mulch. I know people say they don't want anything touching the bark, but the mulch to me protects it, as far as if it's something that's not breaking down per se. And then I want to put a food basket in here. I forgot to add it, and this is where I put all the food that breaks down, like, so scraps from my house all go into this, and the worms eat out of that, and the worms will eat, stay within a couple top inches, breaking down everything else that's in here. It's like a compost bin directly in. Alright, let's add some mulch. Bang for buck, this cypress mulch this is like a bedding that you can find in like pet stores for like rabbits and whatever. And this is pretty cheap. Like, it costs $5 for, was it like 5 cubic feet or something crazy? And this stuff breaks down pretty slow. Allegedly, it could be acidic. My soil's acidic anyway. This is why a lot of things love this soil, because it's breaking things down. When you think of acidity and soil, generally that's places where there's a lot of leaves that are falling and breaking down. That creates acidicness, decomposition. But anyway, it's the icing on the cake. Just want to make sure we get it nice and covered. And this is going to hold in the moisture. That's why we mulch, especially in a place like 9B Vegas. You want the water to stay in as much as possible. I'm all about optimization. Let's take a look at this girl. Mexicola avocado. I would say about 2 years old, grown in pots. I love this hobby. Alright, so we're going to add one of these guys to this microclimate. As you can see, I put a pot at the bottom. This allows, or a saucer, this allows me to see how much water is being overwatered and things like that. After you do this for a while, you start to make a system where you have the same soil and everything, right? So theoretically, you have based on the size of the plant would determine how many nozzles of drip irrigation you're going to add to each pot. To my newly planted things with new soil, I always want to add some azos, some mycorrhiza, and some of this stuff. This stuff is allegedly helps it to grow. I mean, my stuff's growing great. It doesn't take much. This stuff lasts for years. My stuff's growing great anyways. I don't know if it's just the soil, if it's a mixture, or if it's the love and attention I put into things. Either way, it's working. So once you have something, you don't really need to fix it, right? A lot of the complaints about pots is that when you water, all the nutrients you're putting into it goes into the ground, it goes to waste. This system that I have, I water until the water is coming out of the bottom of the pot, and then after that it stops, it'll dry up, and then it gets watered again. And you figure out your system for that. If you have any questions or anything, let me know, but it's pretty much that simple to me. It always bothered me when I'm asking people, how much do you water? How much should you do this and that? And no one could ever give me answers. It makes sense now because everybody does things differently. I found for me the most simple and direct way to do this. That's pretty much all there is to it. Consistency, I found ease, and I can go out of town for a week and I don't have to worry about having something die. It could rain here for a week and I don't have to worry about anything dying or running inside to move it around. Why would you want to do all that? I mean, you can if that works for you. So that's the difference. Like, so you buy these things from the box store, they have things that are dying in there, and it creates more work, but you can make it work. I want less work in general. Let's take a look at these roots. Avocados are one of the things that you do not want to mess with the roots too much. So I'm just going to put it right in here. I just want to gauge, just like the other tree, I want to make sure that it's above grade, and my microclimate is too microclimatey, so I'm trying to figure out how to get this in here. We got to go from the top up. There's a nice hole, but this is what a good microclimate is. Like, everything shades everything, and there's not a lot of space in a way. As things grow, I'm definitely going to have to change things up. But as of now, everything protects each other and keeps each other warm and protects against the wind. Take a look at that guy. We're a little bit above grade, as you can see, and you want to leave a couple inches for feeding. All right, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Leave me a comment, guys. Look at that graft union. That's a good graft union. You take the roots of something that is good for like a certain area, and then you put an old branch that's like 5 years old off of another tree. Then that way you can get fruit faster. Leave me a comment below, though. If you have any questions, concerns, or anything that I missed, or another video you want to make, let me know below. But as usual, one of these mornings, get out there and garden, you guys. Let's grow.